How's it going, and welcome back to the Marvel Snap video here on YouTube. It is Wednesday, June 29th, and our first balance patch has dropped in the closed beta. There's a number of card updates, some small location updates, other little things that were improved and changed about the game. Before we dive on into all the exact details, remember if you enjoy videos like this to tap that like button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I put out videos about Marvel Snap news as well as deck highlights 3 or 4 times a week here. You wouldn't want to miss anything important. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the card updates first here. So there were a number of buffs in a different addition to Nerf's Colossus here, getting a strict upgrade. This now says can't be destroyed, moved, or have its power reduced. So previously this was just destroyed or moved. Now this is no longer impacted by things such as the negative zone, which would normally set its power -3. This will now always have that 3 power, good, consistent 2-drop for you. Crystal is an interesting, what I'm going to refer to as a side grade. So hard to call this strictly better or strictly worse. She now only activates her shuffle your hand back into your deck and draw 3 cards when you play her out specifically in the middle zone. This gives you some more control over what her effect does. And I assume they changed her wording to only work when you play her in the middle, as opposed to giving a player a choice when she flips up whether or not you want to do this, because they kind of seem to want to limit the number of kind of interface clicks that you have to do. So you kind of make your decision based on which zone you play her to. So in some spots where you don't want to shuffle your hand in, you can still play her left or right for power and not do that. However, she's obviously worse in spots where you want to shuffle your hand in, but you don't really want to play her to that center spot. Overall, I think this will likely be an upgrade for Crystal, but obviously not a strict one. Devil Dino. I know there's been a lot of talk about Nova, but I think Devil Dino is actually low-key the most busted thing you could be doing in the previous patch. This card just slotted into so many other shells very easily and just synergized a lot of their things. They've increased the cost on this card from 3 to 4. This change is actually a pretty big deal because especially with Moon Girl, which is one of the best Devil Dino enablers, you could drop double 3-mana Devil Dinos on the 6th turn of the game as kind of a surprise, keeping your opponent guessing where these big power cards were going to come down. And now if you want to double them up, you're going to have to do it over the course of a couple of turns here, which is great. Definitely a good change here. Kraven is an interesting change. The patch notes mentioned this was previously one of the worst cards in the game, and I'm inclined to agree with them. This card now says it gets +2 power, where previously got +1 power when a card moves to it. This is a card I'm interested to play around a little bit with. In addition to your own move cards having synergies with Kraven, you can also slide your opponent's cards around a little bit. So things like Polaris and Magneto theoretically have some synergy with Kraven as well, which could be neat to explore. Moon Girl, technically not a strict downgrade, so increase to 4 mana, but also increase to 4 power. Overall, probably a little bit worse than she was prior, but almost assuredly deservedly so. Very powerful combo enabler, letting you double up cards like Nova or Cerebro or others, getting 2 copies of a very powerful effect. And I think this is a good stat line to move this up to. Speaking of Nova, Ding Dong, I don't think the witch is dead, so this is a good change. Nova now only gives every card +1 power on your board. That being said, if you Nova and you have full spots on your board, this is still a 1-mana card that's going to be providing close to double digits worth of power. And you know, if you only get 5, 6, 7, 8 power out of Nova, that's still a really good rate for a 1-drop. So I'm hoping the Destroy deck is still competitive, but not oppressive like it has been previously. Up next, we have Okoyo, which is another interesting side grade. So previously a 2-mana 1-power card that on reveal gave everything in your deck +2 power. Now 1-mana 1-power card that gives every card in your deck 1 power. So it can be worse in some spots, but fills your curve in better on others. And notably, you can play her on the first turn of the game and start getting those bonuses sooner. And I'm really interested to try and play Okoye as this 1-mana card in like the Beast Falcon deck that could bounce her, because it's going to be cheaper to redeploy her if you pick her up and put her back down now that she's only 1 resource. Doctor Strange got a small strict upgrade going from a 3-mana 2-power card to a 3-mana 3-power card. All other text the same. White Queen, love this upgrade on her. So 4-mana 6-power card, same as before, but on reveal draws a copy of the highest cost card in the opponent's hand. Previously, White Queen only copied a specifically 6-mana card if your opponent had one, and this frequently just flipped up and said no 6 mana cards available. So the fact that White Queen is always going to draw their most powerful card out of their hand, assuming they have a hand, is really good. I expect to see this card see a decent amount of play in like kind of good stuff mid-range decks like the Domino disruptive decks that I've worked on in the past. At any rate, that is all of the card changes. There are also some changes to locations in this patch though as well. So some language clarification here. At end of turn has been changed to after turn. The gameplay is still functionally the same. They decreased appearance rates for 3 pretty frustrating zones, which I think is good. Negative zone is -3 power. Space throne is where only 1 card can flip up. And nowhere says whenever you play a card there, it would get destroyed. All of these zones create kind of negative experiences similar to ones like Ego that had previously, or World Ship that had previously been lower flip rates. So having these zones that are a little bit higher variance and more punishing appear less frequently but still existing, I think is a net positive for the game. You've added a few new locations. Starlit Citadel. After turn 4, swap the position of each location. Death's Domain. When you play a card here, destroy it. So they kind of renamed Nowhere, but they changed what Nowhere does. Nowhere now hampers on reveal effects. So it's just a flavor change. So effectively still have that same location in here in Death's Domain that was previously Nowhere, but now Nowhere is retitled to something slightly different. Icebox gives each card in each player's hand +1 cost. This notably does not say it caps that +1 cost at 6, meaning it can make 6 cost cards unplayable in your hand if they get caught, which is unfortunate. And Mirror Dimension now doesn't transform until the 4th turn. So overall, I think this is probably a good set of patches overall. There's a good list of different fixes here as well. If you have access to the client, you can access all of these in client. They list all the card text changes as well that I pulled up via pictures. Also some small changes to missions for bug fix as well as the season pass. They specifically upgraded how many season pass credits you get from 2100 to 2400, which is good. More free stuff is good. That being said, one other thing to note that they mentioned that I have some medium feelings on where they've capped it at. So they've added a booster cap daily limit to the game. And while I think capping boosters in general, so players don't just have thousands of useless ones that they're playing a lot, isn't that big of a deal, I think the starting booster cap limit is much too low. It's approximately 10 boosters to 2 levels. So 100 boosters is 20 collection levels. And so 200 boosters is 40 collection levels. And this basically means if you're someone who's spending on the game, they've now capped you out of being able to get enough boosters to be able to actually spend all of the credits you can buy in a day alongside your free-to-play credits. You can buy 36 levels worth of credits, 1,800 credits in a day. Then you factor in free-to-plays, another 500 or so, and then various weekly and seasonal pass things. And they've effectively locked their spending players out of being able to use upwards of 500 to 1,000 credits a day, which is a big decrease to your efficiency in gaining collection levels. And maybe that's the goal. Maybe they thought they're letting players progress too much. But honestly, I think if that's the case, they should probably lower the amount of credits they allow you to buy per day, not allow you to buy credits that you effectively can't use now. So I think this is a net negative as far as changes go. And I think at a minimum, this should probably be 300 to 400 boosters in a day to allow players who are spending to not get capped out on that, because this is going to discourage spending in a big way when players get capped out of it. At any rate, what do you think of the patch notes? I think the card changes are good. I think the location changes make sense. Let me know in the comments section down below. Let me know what decks you're interested in seeing. Nova has changed. Are there things I've already played that maybe felt a little bit medium that we should revisit? Are there new ideas we should work on? I think I want to try something with Craven, for example. But we'll love to know your feedbacks down in those comments, and we'll see you back real soon for the Marvel Snap video here on YouTube.